Welcome back from that short break. I hope you got a chance to get a quick snack or move around the room. We've got our next panel starting, which will be looking at the intersection of AI with book production. Last session was marketing. Production more logically would have come before that, but here we are. It's our third drill down session. Later on, we'll be looking at the legal implications. We'll be talking to authors. We'll have another keynote. But here in the production session, I've got three fantastic speakers with very deep experience in production. We're lucky to have them. What I want to do, as in the other sessions, we'll go around the panel, ask them to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about their day job, and then talk about the moment when AI came into their lives, the moment where they said, okay, this time it's different. Ken, why don't we start with you?
Oh, very good. Thank you. I'm Ken Brooks. I'm the president of Treadwell Media Group. I'm also the EVP running supply chain at Amplify Education. I also end up teaching a few college classes on information systems, on education technology, and on publishing strategy. It was really, so I've used AI and machine learning for years and years. But when ChatGPT first came out, I thought it was something extraordinarily new, and have been trying many, many different applications with it since it first came out. So a long time and not too long also.
On that point, Ken, can you just distinguish? I think it's important for the audience to understand we have a conference on AI, but most people are thinking of that, of course, as generative AI, because that's when it really came into the public sphere. But can you talk for a minute about the AI that you've worked with pre-GPT?
Yeah, there's a really great illustration that Ian Goodfellow used in, I think, his 2016 book on AI. It starts out with AI in the biggest context. Then it says machine learning is part of that. Then deep learning is part of that. And then generative AI is part of that. So AI writ large can cover many things like the forecasting applications that we're familiar with, operations research, inventory planning. But specifically, generative AI is pretty much what this panel has been talking about.
Yeah, that's great, Ken. Jim, tell us about your work.
So I'm Ziam Bloom. I'm at Johns Hopkins University Press. I'm the director of publishing operations. So for most of my career, I've been managing editorial design and production. And similar to Ken in that AI for me, it's like we've kind of have already been doing it for a while. So it wasn't sort of a big thing the way that maybe earlier in my career it was when ebooks came around or the internet came around. So
that's great. Bill.
Hi, I'm a publishing technology consultant. My practice is mainly on standards and best practices, editorial and production workflows, content modeling, that sort of stuff. I do lots of work on accessibility. In fact, all of that involves accessibility. And a couple observations specific to AI are that everybody is going to be affected by this. That's a platitude now. But it's being incorporated into tools that you already use. That's probably there in Word or in Photoshop, et cetera, that are commonly already used in production. It's not necessarily going out and getting some new program. A big example that has been mentioned a few times in this program is the fact that with Photoshop, you can simply take something out of an image and it'll fill in the background for you. Or if the aspect ratio isn't right, it'll extend the background to create background for you, et cetera. It's beta, but it's there already. And the other thing I would point out is that whether or not you as a, well, it depends on who you are, if you're a publisher, author, et cetera. But for publishers, a lot of the work is done by vendors. And I guarantee you all of the vendors are working on AI.
We're certainly seeing that. I was talking to a lot of the vendors in preparation for the event. And the next event we'll be doing will feature a bunch of vendors, and all of them are getting ready to incorporate this into their tool set. Bill,
so if you use a vendor, you're going to be using AI, directly or indirectly.
Yeah. Just on the one topic that's very specific to Bill Kasdorf, you've done so much work on standards. Have you yet been thinking about where standards might play in the world of AI?
Standards are overarching over everything we do, right? They overarching and underpinning. How about mixing that metaphor for you? So I think one important aspect is that it'll help in standards alignment, because the standards are almost always publicly available, and you can point your AI tools at them. But also, you need to keep in mind that standards change all the time. That I've been working in standards for most of my career, which is 40-some years, and one of the things that was highly amusing early on was people saying, "Why are there so many standards, and why do they change all the time?" Well, that's the nature of standards, right?
Yeah.
So I think there will be a really good opportunity to use AI for standards alignment. I can give you a concrete example of where it's done already. There's a very, what I'd say the gold standard in accessibility testing tools is DQ's DevTools Plus. It's a combination plug-in free program pro version that you license. I use the pro version, and it's deeply an AI-based tool. It has been for a long time. It uses computer vision, so it can see the web page and find out if something is in the right place or the wrong place, and it's using AI to do that, and it will tell you that. So
that's great.
Yeah,
great. Thank you. So let's now move over to what the audience so often asks us for, which is some specifics. They want to know, in terms of book production, what are some of the tools that you're using, and what are some of the tasks that you're assigning to those tools? So why don't we start with you, Zim?
Well, the thing about production is we use tools and technology, or we try to very often, and a lot of that is what we do in that area is not so much creating the content as cleaning it up, organizing it, making it readable, presenting it, pulling together sort of ancillary content like an index or lists. And so it really lends itself to AI from the perspective that we work with so much content, which means we work with so much data. And then when it comes to production, that's when the clock starts ticking, and that's when money goes out the door, decisions need to be made. And so a lot of this is around tools that can sort of help us with that volume of work. And so where we have been testing it, and so just wanted to give a shout out to our CIO, Kevin Loftus, who's been my partner with this, and he's probably been more hands-on in the AI tools than I have. And we started off with an open access book that we have, and just a couple of selections from it. We've been working with various vendors under NDA and looking at things such as how are they going to create a book summary? How are they going to create chapter abstracts, keywords, indexing? The interesting thing when we get to the copy editing part is some of the responses were like, well, Grammarly is already there. So many other tools are already there. And that's kind of the point of it, is we've been using a lot of these tools with our vendors behind the scenes for a long time, that these are just other ways of using tools that might be better now to sort of help us get the work done.
There was a question in the last session from the audience specific to the use of these tools for metadata and keywords. Have you had some experience with that?
Yeah, we got some keywords back from some of the tests that we're doing, and it was good, but not, perfect. And a lot of that is because it's only as good as the data you have. And so, and again, same thing with indexing, where it's not a list of search terms. It's understanding the concepts, grouping things together, not just the literal words that are there. So there's room for improvement in those areas, but I kind of feel like with how quickly things are going, and then also, again, the whole idea of how much content is out there, I can see where it's not going to be too far off, where we have, we are able to use some of these tools to get ourselves a head start, get us part of the way there, and then we can add in our skill set and our perspective and our decision making to sort of get the content the rest of the way there.
Indexing seems like a particularly strong use case because the automated indexing software that we've had pre-generative AI was not good at pulling out concepts. And do you think this is going to be a sea change in computer-based assistance on indexing?
I hope so. And a lot of that is because, again, indexing is not where we're creating something out of nothing. It's really there's a tool to help us find what we're looking for. And so, especially in working at a university press, discoverability is so important to us. Getting the information out there, the right information at the right time to the right people is important. So a lot of these things around metadata, keywords, abstracts, also alt text, because we're all working on accessibility, indexing, all of these things are how can we put things together to help organize the content, present it to a way that then the readers that we would like to access our content be able to find it. And especially, again, with us as a university press publisher, the whole idea of we're peer-reviewed, fact-based, science-based. That content, I feel, in this day and age is becoming more important. And so that discoverability for that content is that much more important as well, especially when there's so much data around and there's so much misinformation and hallucinations with AI. So I don't see it as we're all out of a job. I think we actually probably will have more work to do as a result of this.
It sure looks like it. Just clarification, Johns Hopkins, when Barbara talks about the press, in a sense, you're also a trade press, right? You're not just a university press.
Yeah. Yes, we do have a lot of trade books.
Yeah, that's great. Let's go to you, Ken. Tell us about some of the tools you're working with and some of the use cases.
You bet. So mostly I work with ChatGPT, either native with plugins or the advanced data analysis tool. I also use Claude by Anthropic quite a bit, and occasionally I use Midjourney when I need an illustration for a presentation or something. Some of the applications I've done have included royalty rate extraction from contracts. I've used it for MSA analysis from a content services provider to find like what's been left out of the contract. Still have to review it, but it's a really good first start. I've used it for conversion cleanup and checking. Data analysis is a really great application for the advanced data analysis tool, where you can use it to estimate schedules, backlogs, causes of outliers. Anytime you've got a lot of statistical or numeric data, you can plug it in there and get some visualizations pretty quickly. Used it for customer service case analysis, querying process documentation, and test item generation. And then I used it to create a tool to play the questions so that I could QA them. So one final use was when the UPS strike was a possibility, I used it to brainstorm some possible solutions for the strike. for our company to use. So I use it for just about everything. Still have to apply quite a bit of judgment to the results, but it's a really great first draft.
That's wonderful. That's great. Bill Kasdorf, we have an important issue to talk about, and you are a singular expert in issues of accessibility. And we were kicking around in our preparation for the event today some of the issues around where AI was going to make things better, perhaps, and perhaps not quite yet. Bill, talk about AI and accessibility.
Well, actually, I already started that because I mentioned Axe DevTools being an AI-based tool for websites. We're talking about book publishing here, but as it happens, that software is the foundation for the DAISY Consortium's ACE accessibility checker, which virtually everybody producing EPUBs uses that tool to check whether their EPUBs are correct or not. So there's also an answer to your standards alignment question, Thad. It's considered an indispensable tool, basically. So that's a positive thing. I would throw a note of caution out there on the subject of image descriptions. It's probably because I'm so deeply into this. Yes, alt text, specifically alt text for accessibility. Because I know folks, I've got a good friend, Carolyn DeRosier, who actually has a company that that's what they do. It's called Scribely. They do image descriptions professionally. And they basically have never seen AI-generated alt text that is actually good alt text. I'll give you an example. I mentioned that a lot of technology companies are quickly incorporating AI into what they do. Well, a company that I work with all the time is incorporating ChatGPT for generating alt text into its production platform. And they were just really pleased to show it off to me, et cetera. And they showed me the image, which was an image of a lecture, an audience, people sitting in a lecture, a person standing up at a podium, presenting, a screen in the background for the slides, et cetera. And the alt text, which they showed me that it took about a second and a half to create, was along the lines of a knowledgeable professor is giving an illuminating talk to an attentive audience, etc. And that is really bad alt text, because the picture doesn't say he's a professor. The picture doesn't say he's brilliant. The picture doesn't say those people are attentive, etc. So, it's embellishing. And that's actually, that's one of the big problems with generative AI right now. Obviously, the big issue is pure hallucination. But this is kind of a step back from hallucination, but it's embellishment. And it's seen as a good thing, but it's not a good thing in image description, right? That's not a good image description. But this gets at a point that I really want to stress. So I'll take this moment to do it if I can take another couple moments. I haven't heard the term human in the loop used much in this session yet, but it's commonly used with AI. But I want to point out that the right way to use AI is human in the loop, but human at the beginning of the process and human at the end of the process. So at the beginning, it's getting your prompts right, and it's refining your prompts, and seeing the responses, and then refining your prompt and running it through again, et cetera. And, based on human experience, you'll get better at that. But that's really important to be able to get the right results out of the AI. And then you have to check and fix the results. Publishers do that. They have editors. Editors edit things, right? So maybe those image descriptions weren't quite right. That's okay. Authors don't always write them right either, but an editor should know how to fix them to make them right. So, and that's what publishers do.
That's a great point, Bill. I think it's something that a lot of publishers don't realize how important accessibility features are in the publishing process. It's still hidden behind the curtain for some of them, where others recognize, as you do and GM does, that this is a core part of the workflow. It's not optional anymore.
Another interesting thing on that subject, Ted, is that a lot of people have not yet realized that it's built into the tools they're using already. So, in Microsoft Word, for example, which is just absolutely ubiquitous in publishing, you go up to the review, the ribbon at the top of the screen, you go to the review tab, and then there's a tab that says accessibility. You click on that. It will check whether you've got your headings are in the right order. It'll check whether you've got images. And if there's an image that doesn't have an image description, it'll provide you with a little dialogue to write the image description, etc. So staying current with your software, this gets easier and easier because and same thing for PowerPoint, same thing for PDF, has accessibility testing built into it. So those are tools we all use already, and the accessibility testing is built into them. They're not perfect, but they're a big step in the right direction.
There was a question from the audience about audiobooks. Are any of you experiencing AI audiobook intersection?
Not yet, but I would love to. I would love for us to do some more of that. And again, it's one of those things where audiobooks are a major accessibility item. And so the question is it, do we wait for something perfect, or are we okay with having something that's just good enough right now because that's better than nothing? So it's one of the areas I think we talk about, but we haven't actually delved into yet, or found the right vendor or the right format or the right software.
Yeah, that all makes sense. A topic that's sort of always on my mind when I think about AI and book production is how much automation we've always had, not always had, but have had over the last several decades. The process is highly automated, so much so that sometimes it seemed like artificial intelligence, but in fact it was rules-based. Now we're moving to a new generation of technology that works with a very different paradigm, a very different set of capabilities than the kind of process automation that we've had so far. How do you see the intersection, Ken, of the transition from pure process automation to AI augmented production?
Well, I think this is going to accelerate the trend of decreasing value add from production, sorry to say, but giving more time for the creative process and more iterations on the creative process, and then moving back into assisting the creative process. So I think we'll see the time to market shrink considerably and the quality of the output increase pretty dramatically, and the cost to do the production come down just significantly as well. So that's kind of the macro trend that I see. Pretty much all of the tools that we use, the AI is going to disappear into the tools, and they're just going to become more and more productive. I couldn't have agreed more with Bill's comment about human in the loop at the beginning and the end. But the AI is just going to become a great assistant, or increasingly effective assistant for people.
Jim, you've been working with automated tools for a long time. What's this trend? How would you describe the transition that's going on now?
I agree with what Ken is saying. I mean, production is so rules based, and so when we're talking about language, there's the art piece of language, but then there are the mechanics of language. So all the mechanical things that we are doing in that respect, style guides, how do you grammar, punctuation, spelling, organization, heading levels, which then translate into how we display the content and how it's used. A lot of that stuff can be either automated or helped with automation. And again, it comes down to the fact that as a production team, we're probably the department that engages with every single word in the book in ways that others might not necessarily do so. And because of that, again, it's a lot of content and it's a lot of data. So being able to sort of help us get through some of those things with more accuracy and faster can then help us have time to do other things or explore other opportunities. One thing we haven't really talked about, for example, is the manufacturing aspect of production as well. So there's a lot there where we're looking at, again, distribution, different types of print technology, how to get our books out there. And one of the things that we're finding is, with technology, we're hoping to get more to a single source so that we can get more to multi-channel distribution. And again, that's right now, it takes a lot of human labor in there. And so we don't always, we can't always do those initiatives that we'd like to.
Yep. Bill Kasdorf, you and I have worked in typography, page layout for a long, long time. You ran a type shop, your own, for many years and continued working in production. When I looked at the early typesetting software and when it was built, it started to be built in these kind of complex kerning rules, pagination rules against kerning. To me, that was early magic. I was amazed by how sophisticated those programs became. How do you compare that magic to this magic?
Was that addressed to me, Thad?
Yeah.
You froze up at one point in there.
Throwing that one
Yeah,
out.
this, as other speakers have said, this is an order of magnitude beyond that because it's so comprehensive. Those were very, very specific task-oriented things. And the promise of AI is something that can really pervade the whole process. I think, in the minute maybe we have left, I'd point out really the three key reasons that you want to use AI. One is scalability. Another is for routine, repetitive tasks, the mundane aspects, as an earlier speaker said, and then just getting a head start on a task so that you can refine it, et cetera. And back to the scalability, my favorite example is audiobook narration, because there's a big controversy about people insisting that no, it has to be human narration and AI narration is good. Well, for your front list books that are going to make you $1 million, yeah, hire Meryl Streep to do the narration. But you can do your whole backlist with audiobook with AI-based narration. And that gets to the good enough aspect that I think Ziam was mentioning about, that it's just a good practical solution to when you've got something that you're not doing because it's the scalability of it is the obstacle. Mm-hmm. I think AI can enable you to do something that you're otherwise not able to have to do.
Yeah. Ken, why don't we go to you to wrap up the session? Talk about your wish list, your hopes, where you see this stuff headed.
Yeah, so my observation right now is generative AI is a really fantastic personal productivity tool, again, requiring judgment in the front end and judgment in the back end. We're seeing the steady advancement of pulling AI into the tools that we use every day. I'm seeing the generative AI companies coming out with tools like function calling, structured output, validation, guardrails, all of this sort of stuff, which is only going to make it more and more effective. And then they're authoring tools that are pulling things into, alignment with standards, quick creation of your lesson plans, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just really enthusiastic about where this is going.
Great. Well, thank you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you to the audience. The next session, we're going to be looking at some of the challenges, specifically legal copyright issues. So stay tuned. A couple minutes, we'll be talking about the legal landscape. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.